Good morning, my friends. Hope you guys are doing great wherever you guys are at. It's beautiful sunny day. And you'll have to forgive my look today. I look like a samurai. I need to go to the barber shop and get a haircut, and I just haven't had the time to do so. If you do like my hair, let me know in the comments so that I can have a defense with my wife because she has said she wants me to get a haircut. Anyway, today's topic is it's a tongue twister. What I'm going to say today is, and it's when you say it fast, it's kind of hard. As you can say, being a tongue twister plus my accent, and I'm still trying to learn English. So bear with me. It's expectations, exception, and acceptance. So if you say it fast, it's kind of hard, at least for me. But what I want to focus on is acceptance, because the whole video, the premise of this video is to bring unity and understanding that we are all different. We are different. Our thought process is different, but we still want to be accepted in the world. Now, I want to make this as a general point. I'm not, certain views that are there is, which is detrimental to someone, then that needs to be corrected, and it's not accepted. But this is what I want to bring the whole point to is expectations. My expectations are always going to be different from yours. Now, society has laid down a foundation of expectations, what they require of all of us as human beings. It works differently in different regions. In India, it works differently. In UK, it works differently. In Sweden, it works differently. And here in the States, it's worked differently. What we are acceptable and expected in US is far different in India. So we coming from different regions and different thought processes and culture, we have to learn to be able to accept people with the exceptions to the rule. If we want to see the progress and grow as people and as individual, we definitely have to make these three components into our life as a habit, and we will find ourselves more at peace within ourselves and with others. So the point I want to make on this is my job or my duty as a father was always, well, my daughter is now older and she's married and she's living her life. But when she lived with us, my job as a father was I had expectations on her that I put on her to be a certain way because I wanted her to be developed and skilled in certain things of how she interacts with others, with us in the family, and just as a person to build a certain personality. Now, she's older, she's off with her husband, she lives her own life. So there was something that was deposited in her through me, but she has her own personality. Now, she have not always followed the expectations of what me and my wife had put on her or what we desired for her, but she always did pretty much what we asked of her. So she was a fantastic kid to have at home as a daughter, and she's a wonderful person anyway. But the point I want to make is certain things she did not do that what I liked or what my wife liked. And that's when the expectations were like, you're not meeting our expectations, right? So then that's where the rule of exception comes is, well, you're not meeting expectations, but we are going to make an exception over here or over there because I know why you didn't do this, or why is this not happening. So we wanted to understand her and say, okay, let's work together, making exceptions on her behavior on certain things because we had to go with some of her personality, with her understanding of what life is. Some things were, there was no exception, and some things were exceptions. So when all said and done on exceptions came acceptance. No matter what she did or what she would say or whatever, if it was offensive, if she disobeyed or what, she bore the consequences, but she was still accepted in the home. She was still loved at home. Now, that's the acceptance. I accept you the way you are. And I want to break that down. My expectations in some areas were dashed as a father, right? But the exceptions were she cannot change because this is her personality or this is who she is. How do I adjust to that? And whatever the consequences happened to it, she understood that these were the consequences. But at the same time, I said, this is not the end of it, that you and I can never be together, or we can work together, or anything as such. Now, I'm just making a point that she was an excellent kid. She was always compliant, and everything she did was pretty much, on the spot. Here and there, we are all humans. We make errors. We do things. But she was amazing while she lived with us. So then I had to, in certain things where she disappointed me or my wife, we accepted her regardless of her shortcomings. This is what we are missing in our society. We have way too many expectations. We have very little exceptions. And then the acceptance is like, I am not going to accept you because you don't meet my 10 rules of lifestyle that I live. So I'm going to write you off. Think of this as a creator who created us. We do so many things. Now, if you don't believe in God, that's a different story. But in general, rule of thumb, is somebody who believes in God will understand this, that our creator, he has created us and he expects us to be so good in everything we do, but then he gives us exception. That is his grace. Exception in his eyes is a grace. I know you are a human being and you will not measure up to what my standards, my expectations are. But Nivesh, I will still accept you. I accept you. And he lets me know that by giving sunshine, giving rain, giving me a roof over my head, feeding me, everything, giving me this breath to exist. So all these are a basic 3 components that is in our society, in our lifestyle. So if we want to be unified in the world and in the churches or whatever you want to put it as, we got to understand that our expectations are only our expectations. We have to give the exception to the rule, and then we have to accept them for who they are. Now, it says, no, this is wrong. Certain people say, well, socially it's wrong, morally it's wrong, X, Y, and Z. Yes, some things are socially wrong, morally wrong, spiritually wrong. But at the end of the day, do we isolate everyone that comes into our life because they do not meet to our expectation, or we make an exception to the rule and accept them for who they are. And I want to say is, for me, I've had a lot of conditions with people. And it's true because my perception, my mindset told me this is what you should, this is your standard. Of course, it's my standard. And I will not change my standard, but I will make an exception. Nobody wants you to change your standard, but they want you to make exception and give them a chance to be accepted. So by this, I will say is find the goodness in people, even though they might not be up to par to our expectations in life. If we give them a opportunity to be who they are and then grace them with that exception to the rule that their personality or whoever they are, whatever they are, they have missed the boat in some of these things. Let me grace them and let me accept you. If we were to really strictly go with how a creator is, and if he says, you are not meeting with him, I'm going to destroy you now, none of us will be existing. And those who have read the scriptures, in Noah's time, he did wipe out the whole race because he couldn't bear that the wickedness that was there in the world, right? But then you can say he had both emotions. If you read in Genesis, it says God wept that he created mankind, but then he regretted wiping them out too. And he says, I will never destroy the entire race with flood, if we know the Noah's story. Then another scripture that comes to my mind is the prodigal son. It's a very popular story that a son just took off, left his father high and dry, said, give me my inheritance. I don't want to do anything with you. But then he realized what he did, that he left a society, a lifestyle. Sometimes we are so confident in who we are and our standards are so high, or what we want to do, and we don't want to accept. He was not willing to accept his father for who he was. He was disgruntled. He was not feeling happy there. And sometimes we are right now in that position in our life, wherever we are at. We are not happy where we are at, and we want to explore. We want to do things. And people who love us and care for us, we're saying, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to do anything with you. Next thing you know, you are walking away from the protection, the love, and the kindness and generosity, because our expectations are, you're not respecting me. You're not respecting my space. We are not understanding the person who is putting that expectation. So it's kind of give and take. You're putting expectation on somebody and somebody else is putting expectation on you. You see, it's two people coming together with expectations. You look at the way I want you to look at me, and you need to accept me the way I am. And the other person says that. And when we'll say, like, I am not going to accept you the way you are, you're going to have to change. You got to change the way I think. Or other one says, you need to change the way I think. It's not going to work, and we are not going to be able to accept each other. When you're at the job, your boss expects you to work 9 to 5. Now, that's another story. Those expectations are because you are in a program that you're helping the company grow. You have a job in itself. Now, it's inconvenience for you to work 8 hours or whatever. Instead of being disgruntled, give that exception, that grace to the boss and say, like, you know what? It's only going to benefit me. I'm going to get a paycheck. I'm going to do better with my wife. and my children, because I'll be able to support them and so forth. I'll be able to buy that boat I've been wanting to buy. I will work an extra 2 hours per week and be able to put a down payment for that boat. So we always do get what we want if we just look at it in a positive side. But we will not get what we want because the expectations that were put on us, we become so bent out of shape that I will not live through with your expectations, which is understandable. But giving the exception to the rule is, hey, they came with the expectations. Now, if I'm expecting them to be like me, maybe they don't have that now. Let me give exception on this, exempt them from this thought process and accept my boss who is a horrible person, but giving benefit of the doubt that that person has gone a little bit loopy here, doesn't know what they're doing. Now, of course, you don't want to take an abuse or being hurt by boss, by spouse, by children, whatever it may be. Do not inflict that pain on you. But just because you cannot accept somebody for who they are, you want to destroy that relationship, then that's not fair either. Then you will not have anybody. Now, I understand we want quality people, quality friends in our lives. But also with those quality, nobody is perfect. You have to let those expectations down a little bit, make that exception to the rule of what your persona or your mindset says, and accept them. And always think how Creator has accepted you, even despite your faults, your shortcomings. He says, I love you. And at least that's what I feel from my God that I worship. So whoever you worship or whoever you don't worship, if you accept yourself, who you are, you'll be able to accept other people. Your expectations are only limited to you, because that expectations, you try to put it on others, it's not going to work. And you're not going to have that wonderful harmony with everybody. I'm not saying you have to agree with the thought process, agree with that, but have peace within that. I accept you for who you are. Let's agree to disagree, kind of a thing. And I think that I believe will unify us. So give it a thought, see how you feel. If I'm way off, please let me know in comments. And if you think I have said something of value, please like, subscribe, and share. Let people know that we all need to be in unity, regardless of our expectation. Make that exception and accept one another. And that's how we'll grow as a community and be able to live in harmony. You have a wonderful Sunday, and I will talk to you later. See ya.